that was, they've gone through the draft process here. They've basically been working out, getting ready for the NFL Combine over the last few months. And now, having them do, basically live drills all day long out there on the practice field maybe doesn't serve the greatest purpose. So right now, more concerned about conditioning, more concerned about the mental side of things and getting up to speed on the system and the playbook and all those things. I don't really have a huge problem with it. Like, I don't, of course, I know everybody in the immediate aftermath of the draft, they want to see some clips and some highlights from Carnell Tate out there making catches and all that stuff. And
right.
I'm with you. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't much care what happens on the field in May. I'm more concerned about what happens on the field in late July into August and certainly into September at that point. So not a huge deal to me. What about you? What do you make of Salah's decision to basically say, hey, you know what? Rookie minicamp this time of year, maybe not that huge of a deal.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's like you said, it's for the fans. It's nice to have a little something to look at. I know, like, NFL fans in general are having a great time with, like, Diego Pavia, trying to size him up next to the center or whatever, and imagine him as a fourth grade quarterback or whatever. Right? I mean, people like to see something on the field, but does it really mean much? No, it doesn't. I don't have a big problem with it. I mean, I guess I have a bigger problem with the whole thing that I'm sure Carson will scream about all day Wednesday, which is the access stuff. People are mad about that, the cutting off the views and the different. And it's like, to me, it's like, just again, I'm going to go back to like last week with, like Michigan State. Like, we can't just have a regular hall for classes. You have to have a meth lab somewhere. Can we just be normal?
Yeah,
Can we just be normal? Like, who cares? Okay, I don't get that. Yeah, like, I don't get that. But as far as like whatever the players are doing in the spring, yeah, whatever. Do whatever you want. Win sprints. Have them run the whole playbook. I mean, like, this is the spring. We're gonna have all these different things. That'll apparently be very uneventful. Well, who knows? So. And then we'll get to training camp, and then after about 3 or 4 days of that, we'll be sick of that. And it's just a reminder of how far away we are still from football.
Oh yeah. Well, look,
kind of depressing.
I think there is something to, like, these guys have been. I mean, we know this, working out and testing for like drills and NFL Combine stuff. It's not playing football, right? Like, we talk about that all the time. Of there's getting ready for the draft and there's football, and those are two different things. And I would hate to see somebody get hurt out. Not that they ever do a whole lot in rookie minicamp anyway. It's not like they're out there just full on tackling people to the ground or anything in rookie minicamp. But it would be a shame to see like Carnell Tate get hurt out there running some drill in May, where it's like, yeah, why don't we say that until August when he's in training camp and the vets are in here. And, I know they've got OTAs coming up this offseason, so I'm more concerned about that stuff than I am the rookie minicamp stuff. They brought in a ton of undrafted guys, and that's been interesting to see, some of those guys and what that could look like. Catch the Restrepo is at the rookie minicamp again this year, so
sure.
He's eligible for that. So people have talked about that, but largely I'm kind of with you. I'm like, okay, well, let's just get to the OTAs. Let's get the veterans in here a little bit, and get mandatory minicamp around the corner at some point, and then football right around the corner after that. But I saw some Titans fans this weekend basically looking at it and saying, man, I'd sure like to see Carnell Tate out there doing a video, like from some of these clips. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I don't care what he's doing in May. I care more about what he's doing in August.
Yeah. Now, of course, they do need to not have practice fields so close to a construction area that
that'd be
this
nice.
Dude's flying into the fence, and it's like we have this we're not going to do that much stuff. Salah's talking about Dante Fowler tearing his ACL, and by the way,
there's a giant hole.
Also, this is sort of like Hunger Games out here too for the rookies. So we're going to see who lives through the week, and they have a better chance of making the team.
If you could survive this giant hole in the ground over here, you got a much better shot at making the roster.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, big boulders coming out of the building, and Amy's pushing buttons and flames coming out.
That's a live tackling drill with Robert Saleh leading the way too. It's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, man.
The Athletic put out, and Sando put this out, and we're going to get to the Titans part of this. here in just a few minutes. But Sando talked to AFC executives out there, kind of sizing up each team and what they did in the draft. And obviously, like, I was interested to see, what the executives had to say about the Titans.
Yep.
And we will get into that here in just a few minutes. But I think the team that I was looking forward to seeing most was Jacksonville, to see kind of what was going on there. And I'll just read some of it. It says, this was a quote from the first executive in the story. I did not like what Jacksonville did at all. Their picks reflect numbers, workouts, pro days, that kind of stuff, more than the film. We're going to be smarter than everybody else. It was a traits draft for them. Other executives in this talk about how, Gladstone and his bravado outsized for their accomplishments. It's very funny. Like, it's just people ripping Jacksonville's draft class across the board.
Yeah. Number 30, Dane Brugger, number 32. I feel like just about everything I've seen, it's like there's a lot of Niners. But a lot of people are making in these is, the Niners, similar, like they got a lot of guys over where, the consensus boards had them and stuff like that, but they traded down a ton. Exactly. Where Jacksonville did not at all.
Jacksonville traded up twice.
Yeah, they traded up twice, didn't trade down. And, took a lot. I mean, it's going to be – I mean, you can see how, first of all, like, that kid would probably rub some of these folks the wrong way anyway,
yes.
So they're going to really – really, really pleasure in his misery if it happens. But hey, maybe he is smarter than everybody else. What if that's the case?
That's not good. I'm really rooting for the opposite. Now, I said this last year. They hired Liam Cohen, and he immediately did the Duval stuff, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. And then Gladstone's press conference after they drafted Travis Hunter, where he talked about hunting him up, I was like, they need to go 0-17. Like, for everybody's sake, they need to go 0-17. And then they won the division. So it's not off to a good start on the Jacksonville's on the Jags being terrible.
Right, but it seems like he's really trying hard to flip things around. Like, at least if everybody else is right, we'll see. I mean, if that is, it's an interesting. I hadn't, obviously, guys who being quote unquote overdrafted. I didn't really realize, I guess, that this would be looked at that way. That's a traits draft, that it's like, at least according to that one GM, that it's just like measurables over the film. I mean, you never know some of this stuff. I mean, sometimes it's, it's like sometimes it's like a toughness and intangibles thing, but apparently it's just measurables over actually playing football well, which shouldn't work out for you.
Yep. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We are off and running on Robby and Rexrode this morning. Take your thoughts throughout the show on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The executives did offer their thoughts on what the Titans have pulled off in the NFL draft, specifically with Carnell Tate. We will get into that here in just a few minutes. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Brandon Bigsby here with you on this Monday morning, taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. It's a Reaction Monday brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Mike Sando putting this out there at The Athletic, some executives weighing in on the drafts from AFC teams. I think they already did the NFC teams, specifically with Ty Simpson. And this is what they had to say on the Titans front. And again, you can check this out at The Athletic. I'm not going to read Sando's entire piece, but a lot of it focused in specifically on Carnell Tate. And it said execs saw, this is from Sando, execs saw the selection of Carnell Tate as a safe pick for second-year GM Mike Borgonzi, whose profile has grown with team president Chad Brinker's resignation. And this was what one executive had to say. Quote, here's a guy that's never going to screw up. He is a guy you're going to want on a second contract. They've had horrible receivers there for a decade plus. He doesn't have any injury history like Jordan Tyson, and those were the only receivers worthy of a top 10 pick. So using the word safe to describe Carnell Tate, what do you make of that?
Yeah, well, that quote, first of all, the one thing about that quote is I'm like, I know that you're not supposed to be necessarily an expert on the Tennessee Titans, but you do realize that it went within the last decade they had A.J. Brown, right?
They did have that.
You knew that? You saw that?
I mean, I guess other than that, I would largely agree.
But yeah, other than the great receiver they had. Yeah.
10 receivers in the league, yes, I would agree.
Yeah. Yeah, you take him out of the equation. It's like, Tom Brady. You take him out of the equation, a disastrous QB play in New England history, right? I mean, my God, terrible. I mean, let's just forget about one of the greatest quarterbacks in AFC East history. But
Tom Brady, A.J. Brown, you heard it here first.
Yeah, what a pass catch combo that could have been and should have been.
Could have been.
I can't go back. I'm still sticking with Tannehill there. I think the safe pick is a very common refrain from these guys, the GMs, and also the media on the Titans. And I think that's it. Again, it's another way, I guess, to say address need. Address. And whereas like the Reese pick is definitely it's more of a probably risk reward pick, right? A little higher risk, possibly higher reward.
Yeah, I would say so
with the Reese pick. So that makes sense. But yeah, people seem to like it, but not love it.
I mean, I think safe is interesting though, because it's like, again, you're talking about a number 4 draft pick. So like a guy that you're going to want on a second contract, that's fine. Like that should not really be the goal. Like that should be a given when you're drafting somebody number 4,
right?
Overall. So like that part of his interest, like to me, there's still, it's a receiver at number 4 that you need to be a great player. Like it's not necessarily, it doesn't scream safe to me, because if it doesn't work out, you're going to be looking at the general manager and being like, what are you doing? Like, why'd you draft him at number 4? What they're saying is like, I think there's pretty much everybody's looking at it like, there seems to be a pretty darn high floor for Carnell Tate.
Exactly. That's the safe part of it, is like you're going to have a player who plays and produces. So like as much as people are, you're right, going to be mad if he's not great, and should be, it's still different than like, oh my God, total flame out, like never. That would be pretty shocking if that's the outcome here. Yeah. So I think the high floor and safe go together. But yeah, I guess really like if you draft this high in any draft, like, that's the expectation, is like you're drafting someone who's going to be special.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, because, Sando put this out there. I've heard this, several different places in the aftermath of the draft. It says not long after the Titans used the 4th pick to take Tate, the Chiefs traded up 3 spots for Mansour Delane.
Yep.
Implications seem to be pretty clear. Tate was one of the players that the Chiefs were strongly considering. And when he disappeared from the board, Kansas City moved up to make sure it got one of the players on their list. Obviously, they bring up the history between Borgonzi and the Chiefs there, and kind of maybe the similar way of thinking. So, but that part is interesting, thinking, all right, the Titans just take Tate, and the Chiefs are like, all right, well, we don't have that many guys left on the board that we really like, so let's just move up and get Delane and move on with our lives.
Yeah. See, the quote like this is like, it's not exciting. This is a different exec says, quote, about Tate, quote, solid player, not explosive fast, but he's strong and tough. I'd like him to have more instincts and a little more burst, end quote. Like, you hear stuff like that and you're like, oh gosh, it's going to be like a perennial, a 700-yard receiver. I mean, I
What,
think
he's
better.
NWI out there.
Yeah, right. Where's NWI, by the way?
I don't think he's anywhere. Is he?
Is he unsigned?
I think he is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. No, I forgot about that. He's not unsigned. He's with the Colts.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He went back home. That's
he's
right.
back in the AFC South.
Went back home to Indy.
Be seeing him twice a year.
Yeah, watch out.
How could I forget about that?
Yeah. So, it's, again, like, this exercise. I love these. I mean, I look forward to these every year, from Sando. The catching up with the GMs on the draft and other different things too, that he'll hit them up during the season every week about different things, but also, like, we can look back on these too if we want. It probably would be fun to do, like 3 years ago at this, or even a year ago, but like especially like when we really know a draft class like 3 years ago, and you'll see some quotes from some GMs that you're like, wow, you know nothing about football.
Oh, by the way, some of these execs, like as always, when some of these execs talk, it's like, all right, are they like chief rivals of whoever they're talking about, or it's always interesting to kind of deep dive on that.
I think he uses discretion on that to avoid that, but yes, it's fair to. I mean, we don't know. Yeah, like you have to think about that if you're him, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to get someone I know. There's division rivals and also there's personal rivals.
Yeah,
like, I know you hate that guy, so I'm not going to have you talk about his team,
right?
Stuff like that.
So that part of it is always interesting, but the other part of it is, some of these executives, I'm sure, have made some horrendous draft picks of their own, right?
Yes.
So it's all with a grain of salt. Like, you just got to always kind of factor that in. But I knew that the word safe being used to describe the number 4 overall pick,
super exciting,
would be an interesting reaction from Titans fans. It's like, oh, great, safe.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's what I'm looking for. But, that's the thing. I mean, if it was Arvell Reese, and it is wild when you look like the Giants, the fact that they're like apparently thinking of him more as like an off-ball linebacker. That was if you read the quote on that in the Sando piece, it's like, well, then draft Sonny Styles. He's way better. Like, if that's what you want him to be, I have another guy who played with him who got him lined up and is actually a way better player at that position. Like, what are you doing?
I have to think.
You have to, right?
There's got to be a long-term plan of him being an edge rusher. Otherwise, I don't know why you're drafting him where he is. I mean, look, maybe with the traits that he has, maybe he turns into the second coming of Ray Lewis out there at some point. I have no idea. But drafting him where they did at number 5, and look, clearly the Titans had some reservations there. He was there for him to take, and they didn't do it. So you have to think there's at least some reservations there.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if he doesn't end up being an edge, because again, that's all the Parsons. Then I feel better just right there.
Absolutely,
the Titans doing what they did.
Yeah,
it's just weird to me.
Well, and I guess it's one thing if he, I don't know, starts as an off-ball linebacker and then eventually transitions to the edge. But I mean, wouldn't you think? You're going to want him at edge long term, you start him there, and that's where you go.
I would think so. I mean, very different positions, and really, I think playing edge is like simpler, right?
Yeah.
And so just line them up and play. Yeah, we heard the same thing when the Titans moved up and got Rashaan Evans. I remember that night Vrabel was like, he has edge rushing potential. Like, oh, okay, well, that's an interesting pick then. If this guy could, he actually is a goal line linebacker. Cool.
By edge rushing potential, we mean we're going to launch him off the goal line.
Yeah.
When the other team gets down into the red zone.
He's close to the edge when he run blitzes.
Yep. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. So we have gone through the draft over the last couple of weeks. We've gone through what the Titans have done this offseason in free agency. It's been a busy offseason for the Titans. So we want to hear from Titans fans. Your confidence level that Cam Ward solidifies himself as a franchise quarterback this season is what? 615-737-1025 is our phone number. More coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. So we've gone through what the Titans have done in the NFL draft, a busy offseason and free agency for the Titans as well. And now, Joe, the question that I think largely defines this franchise moving forward is this. Cam Ward and his ability to turn into a franchise quarterback. I would describe the first season as up and down, a lot of down, especially early. Thought in the second half of the year there was some improvement. The offense as a whole got better. They started to run the ball. You saw some more from Cam Ward than I think you wanted to see throughout the course of the year. And obviously, unfortunately, gets hurt in the last game. I would have loved to have seen in that last game, what he would have done against the Jacksonville team that, frankly, totally dominated them a few weeks earlier on the defensive side of the ball. But we'll never know what happens on that front. But now you're heading into year two. You've got Dable as an offensive coordinator. You brought in Carnell Tate. You brought in Wan'Dale Robinson. We've talked about the concerns on the offensive line, which leads me to this question. What is your confidence level, Joe Rexrode? What is your confidence level, Titans fans, that Cam Ward this season will solidify himself as a legitimate franchise quarterback for the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, well, the definition of that, of course, is up for debate or up for discussion. But when you say it that way, it's not high. I mean, like establish himself as legit. If we want to take the last major quarterback that they drafted at the top of the draft, number 2 overall, not number 1 overall. I probably did right in Tennessee, and I definitely thought at the end of his second year, I was like, yeah, he's on his way. Like if Cam Ward had a year like Marcus Mariota had in 2016, I think a lot of people would say exactly that. He is a franchise quarterback.
Probably so.
We go look at the numbers, look at what he did, look at some of the performances he had. It wasn't perfect. He had some. There was a game they lost, and he actually threw a pick 6. It was at San Diego, and they were still playing in San Diego. And I remember they were trying to get the new stadium. Didn't work. But he was unbelievable on that day. I remember writing that, this is like you're seeing a young quarterback potentially becoming a star. And so that was overreaction on my part and a lot of people's part. And some people still thought he sucked. Apparently you did. But
really year 3 was when I was like, this guy's not good.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. So then you got to year 3, and it was like obviously people blamed Trubisky, and that was fair to a point for sure, right? Like Mariota could have had a better OC and stuff like that. But that's where it's like, so like I'm sorry, like I hate it's hard to, it's not as fun to say like this year won't be conclusive, but I think he could take a huge jump, and I'm still not going to say, oh, he's solidified as a franchise quarterback, because it's just, again, look at like Stroud, and Stroud's was right away.
We're going to talk about that later too.
Yeah, yeah. But his was right away, and now you're like, man, I don't know. And look at, so all I know is you really need him to solidify himself as a solid quarterback and at least get you to a point where, again, like a Trevor Lawrence or somebody, were like, okay, maybe it's not exactly what you're hoping for. Like Trevor Lawrence will never be the guy that people thought he was when he was getting drafted, right?
Probably not, because people thought he was going to be a slam dunk future Hall of Famer.
Yeah. And that's not the same expectation for Cam Ward, but he was still a number 1 overall pick, right? So I don't. My confidence level. I mean, I have a decently high confidence level that he'll improve. I definitely think that like Brian Dable is a guy who has demonstrated the ability to get good things out of quarterbacks and get improvement out of them. But I'll be surprised if at the end of this year everybody's saying, oh yeah, no question about it. And again, even if they are, I'd pump the brakes.
Well, I would pump the brakes too. He needs to, having said all that, needs to have the type of season where the fan base is not pumping the brakes and they're like, yep, he's the franchise quarterback. I mean, that needs to happen. And, we can have the conversation at that point if it does happen of, all right, well, we've seen this happen in the NFL before, but like there needs to be a major jump from year 1 to year 2. I'm sorry, like there does. And I mean, it's part of the expectation when you get drafted number 1 overall. They have changed the coaching staff. No, their roster's not perfect. No, their offense isn't perfect. And, you look at their personnel that they've got, If they stay healthy, I think they can be okay on offense from a skill position standpoint. But you drafted this dude number 1 overall to elevate the franchise, and you need to see that this year. And it doesn't mean that he's got to lead them to the Super Bowl this year, but it does mean that you need to see very meaningful progress from year 1 to year 2. So I'm with you largely from the standpoint of I don't know that there's really anything he can do where you're just going to know after this year because of, Stroud's a good example. Mariota's a good example. Sometimes, it looks really good early and then it fades as they get into year 3 and year 4 and year 5. But I do think he needs to have the type of season this year where you get to the end of the season, and one of the things we're trying to do at the end of it is like trying to get people from overreacting that he's, Josh Allen out there. It's like, all right, let's calm down.
How refreshing would that be?
Yeah, step it back a little bit. I mean, we talked a little bit last week about the completion percentage, right? Like that to me it's got to come up, and it's not just as simple as that. Like he was 59.8 last year. That's not good. Like you got to get in today's NFL, you need to be into the mid 60s, right? Like you need to get yourself into the mid 60s from a completion percentage standpoint. I am really interested to see, how much more accurate is he this year, right? Like there were too many throws that he missed last year. Yes, the pocket wasn't always great. Sometimes it was, though. And there were too many layups that he missed last year. That's got to improve. But, again, we're talking about the number 1 overall pick from 2 years ago. And they thought highly enough of him to make that pick and that he was going to be the face of the franchise quarterback. You need to see way more games this year than not where that's the case. That's kind of where I'm starting on that front.
Yeah. No, I agree. And immediately, Lance, it's all about the O-line and play calls. Look how Mahomes tanked last year. Kaka O-line. Kaka, great word. Saying in Portland, if the offensive line's simply good, not the Sloondor quintet, he could be special. Yeah, but again, first of all, like Patrick Mahomes, we're going to make that comparison. Like, he made like 3-4 plays last year where you make that comparison, and he missed throws that you can't miss, if you're going to be top shelf quarterback in the NFL. So, yeah, of course, those things need to be better, and you want to be able to give them a chance. And I am worried that the interior of the offensive line is going to be a mess and not give them enough of a chance. But there's still plenty of football last year, plenty of moments, games, series, whatever, plays where it was just on him. He on his own could have been better and could have made plays that were there to be made. And that has to happen at a higher rate.
And look, I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson is in the fold now. That's a type of player that they did not have a year ago. Carnell Tate, his profile is a type of player that they did not have a year ago. I have no idea what to expect from Calvin Ridley at this point. We'll see if he can stay healthy. But the point is the receiving core is unquestionably better heading into this year than it was a year ago, right? I mean, it's unquestionably better. Now, how much better, we're going to find out. But there's no doubt they're in a better spot there. Tight end, I'm really interested to see what that looks like with Gunnar Helm in year 2. Bellinger, as we talked about last week, what's that tight end room going to be? But again, to me, we can spend all offseason talking about all that, and we have. But the biggest storyline for this team, the biggest storyline for this franchise as a whole heading into next year is individually from year 1 to year 2, how much better did Cam Ward get? That's going to tell the story of not all of this, but a whole lot of it. Like that's just the name of the game in today's NFL with your quarterback.
Yeah, they could win 5 games. They can win 10 games. You win 10 games, you probably, a good chance of getting the playoffs, whatever. There's a big range. I'll take Cam Ward took a huge jump, and wow, it looks like a guy with 5 wins over. Boy, that defense really got a lot better, but boy, the quarterback's still a question. But they got in the playoffs. If you're a Titans fan, take the 5 win with Cam Ward, because gosh, unfortunately, that means he has to survive another coaching staff. But maybe not. But regardless, that's easily the biggest story. Jordan Springhill says, would you take 3,971 yards, 26 TDs, and 12 picks? This year, those are Kyler Murray stats of here. Well, Mariota was like 3,600, 26, and 9 in his year 2. So, yeah, you'd take it. Yeah, again, and then it's just like Okay, but just and we're talking stats right now. What's it look like? It's such a big part of that too. I mean, I don't think that I think Cam Ward looked better enough last year. I think he looked better than his stats.
I would agree.
Not that it was like overwhelmingly good or way better, but I think it was better. Again, it was just ups and downs, which you expect as a rookie. You just want to see way more ups this year.
Well, there's got to be more consistency too, and that's probably an overused word in sports. But he made 4 or 5 throws last year where you're like, okay, well that's a number 1 overall pick type of throw there, and that's great. Like to have that ability is a good thing.
Yep.
But it's not going to matter if you don't consistently make the throws that NFL quarterbacks have to make. It's great that you can make those special plays, but when you become a master of the ordinary plays, like that's what it takes in today's NFL to be a franchise quarterback.
Exactly. You have to have enough. If you're a feast or famine power hitter who bats 195, you hit 25 homers. There's value there, but you got to be able to get on base more than that. You have to hit singles and draw walks.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. A lot of your thoughts to get to on Cam Ward, your confidence level that he establishes himself this year as a franchise quarterback. More on that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Our football offseason coverage brought to you by Tennessee Brew Works. Locally brewed, community-driven, Tennessee Brew Works, the official craft beer of football offseason coverage here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. We'll have Cory Curtis with us from News 2 later in the show. Alex Daughtery from the Tennessean will be with us at 8:30 on the program. But we will get into the Predators general manager search coming up to begin the 7 o'clock hour as well. So all that ahead here on the program. Taking your thoughts on Cam Ward. What is your confidence level that he solidifies himself as a franchise quarterback this year? Now, lots of people asking about the shoulder injury. I mean, look, obviously we'll wait and see by the time the games come around what it's looking like. But I can only go on the information that's out there, which at the moment, Joe, seems to be he's throwing and he's on track, it appears, for minicamp in June. So I take both of those things as good signs when it comes to the shoulder. And then I guess we'll see by the time, the actual NFL regular season comes around, but he seems to be on track.
Yeah. And if he's throwing in minicamp, because there's no knee, like obviously you'd like to get that work in, especially with your young receiver and stuff like that. But if he's actually full throwing in minicamp, that's a great sign, because you could look at the timeline of everything and be like, well, just wait till camp. Now, granted, maybe in minicamp that means throwing a little Nerf ball behind closed doors where Karski can't see. I don't know.
Or maybe in the middle of the practice field where Karski can't see.
Well, that's true too. Over a large pit of snakes. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been asking about this recently, and it's just like, I mean, the indications are positive. I mean, it should be okay.
Yeah.
You hate to whenever you have that big like lump or whatever that like Will Levis showed off that one time on social media.
That was gross.
Yeah, that was pretty gross. You hate to see that, but should be okay. But we'll see.
A lot of competition in that QB room too, Joe. Just to bring the best out of Cam Ward. Got a billion guys in the QB room right now. It should pay off pretty well for Cam Ward at the end of it.
I'm excited. I totally expected that Levis would have gotten dealt, by the end of the draft. But I mean, I'm excited for this quartet of QBs.
I am too.
It should be fun. It should be a lot of fun.
Chris says, my gut is that he's not a franchise quarterback. Saw some bad traits last year. Jared and Spring Hill in the YouTube chat talking about bad traits as well. Physically, is he the most gifted quarterback? Probably not, right? Like he's not. I don't think he's going to set any 40 records out there with how fast he runs.
That's true.
People have talked about the arm strength heading into the draft. I think last year I watched him and I was like, I think the arm strength's fine. Arm strength is okay with Cam Ward.
Arm talent.
He's not Josh Allen out there or anything like that with the arm strength, but it's fine. Like the first touchdown pass of his career, I think probably should answer any questions that you had about that in terms of arm strength. To me, it's very simple. Like, can he consistently make the intermediate throws that you have to make as an NFL quarterback? And I thought there were too many times last year where he missed on those. And you're talking about a rookie quarterback. You would hope with an offseason, and that's why the shoulder part of this is important. If he is throwing right now, you're hoping that you're working on the footwork, you're working on the mechanics, you're working on all those things that by the time game day comes around, you become more of an accurate quarterback. How much more accurate is he going to become? I don't know. We've talked about that for ages with quarterback of once you get to the NFL, how much more accurate can you actually get? Well, we've seen some examples that you can do it. How much does coaching affect that too? How much does play calling affect that? I mean, I think there's a lot that goes into it, but that to me is still going to be the number one thing. And still my biggest question mark with Ward is, can he actually do that? Because if he can't, I mean, that's too big of a problem to overcome in the NFL.
Yeah. And there's been some talk about, mechanics and things like that. So then you can, do you want to, because he's got that little sidearm thing going, it's a little unorthodox.
Yep.
Doesn't mean you can't be accurate when you're unorthodox, but when you have the combination of unorthodox and missing too many throws, do you need to mess with the mechanics? And then do you want to mess with the mechanics when someone has the shoulder situation that he has, and you have the whole offseason where you could have maybe tweaked some things, but now you're just trying to heal? I mean, I don't know. That is easily to me the biggest question. You know, the Mariota comparison, which I just love bringing Mariota up whenever I can. But
sure,
the thing that I definitely feel better about with this guy than him, not that Marcus was. I mean, Marcus was a great guy and a great guy in the locker room and things like that. But there were times when I think he was a little bit too much of a wallflower, you know, and people would say that here and there after they left the team. I mean, DeMarco Murray had a comment about that.
Eric
Decker had a comment about, and I don't think it was unfair. No one's ever going to say that about Cam Ward. Like when they leave, you're never going to see someone leave here and be like, yeah, I wish Cam would talk a little more. I mean, I think he's got all that stuff is great, but it just has its limitations. That only counts so much. It only matters so much.
I think Will Levis is pretty good at that stuff too. It just,
Yeah. But the difference being that, yes, but I think Levis also is like just
too
so
wired.
wound. Yeah, exactly. Wound so tight, that it's almost like the weight of the world. And it's like, okay, how can you lead a team with that? I think Cam's I love the approach and everything like that. But it's just, but okay. So that now make the throw over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, I think the long and short of it really seems to be, I think it's absolutely fair when you're talking about a number 1 overall pick with the weapons they've added on offense, with the coaching staff that's now in place, specifically Dable in place. I think it's absolutely fair to expect a major jump from year 1 to year 2, right? And it doesn't mean that he has to go from 15 touchdown passes to 40, but I mean, it probably does mean you need to go from 15 touchdown passes to 26, 27, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? Like the completion percentage from 59.8 to 63 and a half. Like, is that too much to ask? Like, you take that 3,100 yards and get it up to 37, 38. Like, I think all of those things should be within the realm of not just possibility, but expectation when you're talking about year 1 to year 2 with your number 1 overall pick at quarterback and the weapons that they've added in the offseason. Yeah, no,
it's got to be quite a bit better. His QBR was 41 rating, 80.2. Is that right? Are those right? That's what Lance is throwing out here. Dart 57 and 91.7. Too early to it's too early to judge. I mean, Jackson Dart came roaring out of the gates last year.
Jackson Dart going to be able to make it through an NFL football game next year?
There's that too. Like, stop leading with your head. But I don't. It's definitely too early to do. There were times, especially when he had a couple of those really good performances early in the year, it's like, oh man, like they could have traded down and gotten the better guy. But we'll see. At this point, tell me any outcome for either of those guys, I'll believe you.
By the way, Jared on the YouTube chat's calling Cam Ward short. He's 6'2", isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's 5'11" out there.
He's saying he's doing the sidearm because of the shortness. That's not true. It's just his mechanics. I mean, you'd love to have a 6'5" guy, but he's not short to the point of problematic. 6'2" is fine.
Let's head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Tim to the program. Tim, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Morning, guys. I think we can all agree on one thing, that last year Cam did not get any coaching. Everything Cam did, he did on his own.
Yeah, I mean, the coaching should definitely be better this year. There's no doubt. If it's not, we got a big problem.
Now, did I think he was the number 1 draft pick overall last year? No. Do I think he can be a starting NFL quarterback? Yeah, I think he can. And I think we're going to find out this year. If he's got the same kind of numbers as he did last year with what he's got this year coaching, then we made a mistake.
Yeah, thank you for the call, Tim. Appreciate it. I mean, we've talked about this, Joe, and especially in today's NFL. Like, look, it's the GM and the number 1 overall pick. He's, in all likelihood, regardless of how it goes this year, going to get at least one more year beyond this one. But, like, it's more important than ever before in the NFL for a young quarterback coming in to show what you got pretty early, because teams more than ever before, they just move off of you.
Although I do wonder, like, do you start to see that change, at least with some teams, just because of what we keep seeing, which is the guy who gets trash heaped and then, pops up somewhere else and he's really good. Do we start seeing teams react to that a little bit and showing more patience? I mean, I guess you could look around and probably see some examples of more patience versus no patience in some places, right?
This has not been the harbinger for patience around here with the way the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, well, there's been no patience for anything around here.
Yeah.
Now I think they had probably about the right amount of patience for Mariota. Like you get to that 18 season, he's hurt a lot, and then you go get someone else just as an insurance, and then you move on. Okay, that's it. But you picked up the option, but you obviously didn't do the extension. I mean, that's a pretty patient approach of the QB. So, but obviously this is their next chance to show, and a lot of things have changed in the organization since then, including again everybody getting fired, demoted, promoted, hired, fired, demoted, promoted, et cetera, over and over again.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, what is taking so long with the Nashville Predators and their search for a general manager? We will get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Brandon Bigsby here with you on this Monday morning. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping. Get thicker grass, better color, and fewer bare spots with turf application. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Brandon Bigsby live at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home with the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. We are out here today at Hermitage Golf Course for the Hart Golf Classic benefiting Stars Nashville. That's getting rolling later this morning, 8:30 start on that front. We're going to be out here all morning long. I think Jake will be out here as well after that. So looking forward to nice morning out here at my favorite golf course in the city, Hermitage Golf Course. So very much enjoy being out here. Appreciate the hospitality from Hermitage Golf Course, from Stars Nashville as well. We'll have Cory Curtis with us at 8 o'clock from News 2. We'll have Alex Daughtery from the Tennessean at 8:30. And, Joe, one of the things that we're going to get into with Alex is the Predators general manager search, which has still not wrapped up yet. Now, look, there's been pretty wide reporting on some of the names that they've been interested in, including Tom Fitzgerald, right? We've talked about that. But there are some other assistant GMs around the league that we have talked about that the Predators appear to have been interested in. But I saw Vengen put this out there yesterday, and it does raise the question of, all right, what exactly is taking so long here? So, Toronto fired their general manager, Brad Treliving, on March the 30th. They hired their new general manager yesterday. So you've got not that much time that passes from them firing someone and then hiring somebody else.
More than a month.
I mean, he was even quicker with New Jersey. So New Jersey fired Fitzgerald on April the 6th, and they hired the new general manager like 10 days later. The Predators have been operating knowing that this was happening since February the 2nd. Like, that's when and they knew before then. But Barry Trotz, and that announcement was made on February the 2nd. It's May the 4th. So
may the 4th be with you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I think it's a fair question if you're a Predators fan out there to wonder, okay, what exactly is taking so long? And isn't the entire point of making the announcement when you did to get a head start on all this? Now, look, they've gone through their process. It's not like they haven't been working and they've narrowed down their pool. So I don't think that this is costing them, a candidate or anything. So at the end of the day, it's probably not that big of a deal. But it is interesting that, there's all these different teams firing and hiring new general managers, and this is taking you over 3 months at this point. Like, what exactly is the deal here?
I mean, I'd blame Nick Saban messing around with TV. You got to go make sure the dealerships, ship shape.
Playing golf.
Playing. Yeah, exactly. Going to these golf irons. Come on, man. Keep your eye on the puck, Nick.
Yeah.
I joke, but Saban is a part of this.
He is.
I think it's really interesting, actually, like the involvement of him with this. Part of obviously a methodical process. To me, it's like we're all getting antsy to find out who it is, and it seems like it's about time. I think your point is the big thing, though. Is like, do you lose out on someone that you actually that would have been a really good hire because of this? That's what you. Yeah. As long as you don't, I guess it's fine. But also, there is a draft coming up.
Well, there's a draft coming up. And
look,
I've heard this from some Predators fans, and I understand it. Like, again, I don't think that it's a huge deal. So I want to be clear on that. I don't think it's a huge deal that the search for general manager is taking as long as it is because, you want to be thorough and get the right people and all that. Having said that, one of the things I've heard from some Predators fans that follow this pretty closely is, okay, the last time that the Predators had a general manager opening, they basically just marched to the beat of their own drum, and it was a handoff. Like, it was a handoff from Poyle to Trotz, and you just don't see teams operate that way very often. Well, now you've got a general manager opening again, and you're treating it like, Barry Trotz is a part of the search committee, and you did this one search committee to start things, and that ended up being against the rules, and you couldn't do that. And now you're taking 3 months to make a hire, and it just kind of feels like the Predators are marching to the beat of their own drum. Like, a buddy texted me the other day.
They kind of do.
And he said, you guys, this is what he said. He said, you guys are making fun of Jacksonville and like they think they're smarter than everybody else in the NFL. He said, that's the Nashville Predators. He said, that's what they are with this general manager search. And I hadn't thought about it in those terms. And I don't know that I totally agree with that comparison. But it is interesting. Like, you know, I understand the thought process for the Predators is like, why do you guys have to be so different? Like, why can't you just go make a hire, right? And so that part of it is interesting. Like, you know, if they end up with Tom Fitzgerald here, number one, I don't think it's going to go very well in terms of the reaction from the fan base.
Right.
And I understand, you know, the talking point is going to be they just for the life of themselves can't help themselves and can't get outside the organization. Now, as I've talked about, as we brought up, I don't think Tom Fitzgerald is quite the same as like making a Barry Trotz hire. Like, it's just, you know, he was a part of the organization. He was the first captain. He hasn't been here since 2002. Like, that's a long time ago. Now, he is, you know, he was in Pittsburgh. There was Ray Shero in Pittsburgh, who was with David Poyle. So it is kind of all right there together in the same tree.
Yep.
So I understand that if that's the hire, it's not going to go over well from a fan base standpoint in terms of their reaction to it. So I'm interested to see who their hire ultimately ends up being here. And I don't know if it's going to be Fitzgerald or if it's going to be, you know, Brett Peterson or one of these assistant general manager candidates. But to your point, it is May the 4th. You know, you got a draft lottery coming up tomorrow. Like, it's about time to get going here and make a hire and get the next general manager in place. Because as I said last week, it's not just about the draft. You got to evaluate who's on your roster, and you got to evaluate, like, what's your plan? Like, who are you moving this offseason? You'd be hard-pressed to convince me you're keeping everybody the same this offseason. So what are you doing? Like, I think you got to start to, you know, formulate those things. What's going to happen with the assistant general managers? Are they going to be here? Are they going to be elsewhere? Like, there's a lot you got to figure out here, and I think it's about time to go if you're the Predators.
People asking, you know, if there's someone right now that's holding them up in terms of, you know, team in the playoffs.
Maybe.
You know,
could be.
But I still feel like even with that, it's like, I mean, when you get to this point, and if you're talking about, you know, someone in a front office, I mean, how important are they at this point? Like, the team's in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's
the GM can make moves.
That would probably be my answer. Like, it's not like teams that have been in the playoffs, particularly like, you know, it's management. They're not doing anything.
We really need Frank to be
like,
sitting in the suite with the GM too,
right,
you know, and like get him coffee.
Yeah, so like, I guess that's possible that they could be waiting on a team that's in the playoffs, but it's also like, to me, the general manager is different than like a coach, right? Like, you're waiting on a coach, like an assistant coach on a bench
and
somewhere.
And anybody who's in the playoffs, like that GM is going to be the GM next year, I think, right now. So it's someone on their staff. Like, yeah, I don't think you really need them anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they'd probably like to stay along for the ride. Like, I want to keep going to the playoff games of this team I helped build, but it's like, yeah, we need to. Like, if you want this job, I mean, I'm not saying that's actually happening, but yeah, I don't see why that at this point would slow anything up.
Again, I don't think it's like some massive failure or some huge deal that they've not hired anybody right now. But I do think it's fair if you're a Predators fan to ask the question of, okay, all these other teams are going through a pretty simple process here of hiring and firing general managers, and you guys are taking forever. What's the deal?
Yeah, I think if it doesn't happen like this week, maybe it's time to have a tantrum.
Yeah.
That'd be tantrum time.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Vingan's already on the verge of one.
I think he is. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on the Predators general manager search, plus a team in the NHL that I've watched pretty closely over the last few weeks that has now accomplished something after last night that I think could be a lesson to this rebuild conversation we've had around here. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Good stuff from Brandon Bigsby there. Waiting is the hardest part on the Predators GM.
Yes, I like it.
Again, I hope that's coming at some point soon. You know, again, I look at the search here for GM. You've got the draft coming up here in just over a month. You got free agency after that. And look, I don't expect the Predators to be all that involved in free agency. I'm sure they'll sign a couple guys here or there.
You
but
don't know what their GM.
I mean, I don't. I guess I should leave myself. But it's a pretty awful free agent class, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's going to be a lot going on out there on that front. So, and look, and if it plays out this way, and which I don't think it will, Predators fans will not react well to it. But Bill Haslam did say at that press conference a few months ago that, we got Barry Trotz in place until the next general manager comes in. We don't have to be in a rush. Like it doesn't have to be. There's no timeline, which clearly there's not. There's no.
Let's just do a co-GM thing this year. Why not?
As to what's going on.
GM in waiting.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have coach in waiting season. How about the GM just comes in and is Trotz's assistant for a year?
Yeah, I mean that could
Sounds
be
awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure that would go over really well with the fan base. I just. It's going to happen here at some point. I'm very interested to see, number one, who it's going to be, but number two, what their plan is. I just can't blame Predators fans for looking around and saying, why is this so hard? Like, why are all these teams hiring and firing people and we just can't do it? Like, it's just amazing to me. Let's head back to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Ryan to the program. Ryan, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, guys. How are y'all?
Good, buddy.
Good.
I would definitely go outside the Preds family. I would go after Brandon Shanahan. I don't know what they're waiting on. Like, I think he's the ideal candidate for the Preds. And, he was a rival. He would unite the Red Wings fans, down in Spring Hill. So I think he'd be a win-win for sure. You couldn't go wrong with Tom Fitzgerald either, but I think they need to go outside the family.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. I don't know that I'd be worried about the Red Wings fans in Spring Hill.
Bring me Shanny.
It's 1998, but yeah. Look, Shanahan's a name that we talked about. It doesn't sound like it's going that way, so I don't think Shanahan's going to be the one that ends up having.
But I'll always love you, Brendan.
I'll tell you one thing that's interesting, and I heard Elliot Friedman talking about this a few weeks ago. Some other people have talked about this too. Ryan Getzlaf lives in Nashville.
Yep.
And he's not going to be the general manager.
But he might be part
of like the next staff here, which I think is really interesting. First off, if you're a Predators fan for, a significant length of time, you're like, Ryan Getzlaf going to be a member of the Predators organization. Oh boy.
Better than Ryan Kessler.
Goes back to those Ducks rivalry days. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like he was,
He was just Beelzebub, not Satan himself.
Yeah, and Kessler's got other issues right now. But it's like he's intriguing to me from the standpoint of, like, I think he's a really smart guy. And I've always been interested. There every now and then there are players you look at and identify, man, I think they'd be really good in management. Like, to be honest with you, Steven Stamkos, if he wants to do it, I think would be a heck of a GM one day. Now, I don't know whether or not he's going to want to do it in the timeline, but every now and then you identify somebody and you're like, yeah, I think that person would be,
as opposed to
really
a coach.
Yeah, as opposed to a
Some guys
coach.
going to coach.
Yeah, like I think management would be really interesting on the Getzlaf front. So something to keep an eye on there. Here's another thing, and I was just kind of making this observation last night, and then I actually saw some people on social media talking about this too. The Montreal Canadiens made the Stanley Cup final in 2021. Which not that long ago. And in the aftermath of that, basically went through a rebuild, right? Like they made the Stanley Cup final, and they had Nick Suzuki, like he was a part of that, and he learned under Shea Weber, and now he's their captain, and he's a big part of their team and all those things. But, Lane Hudson has come in on defense for Montreal. I mean, they had basically a child goaltender last night in a Game 7, just be totally a brick wall out there in Jacob Dobas. You've got Slavkovsky, who was the number 1 overall pick in Montreal. So from the time in 2021 until now, they have gone from Stanley Cup final, albeit in kind of a weird COVID year, but a Stanley Cup final against Tampa Bay, basically an entire rebuild, And now they're back at the spot where not only are they good right now, and let me tell you, they may get to the Stanley Cup final this year. They're going to be good for a long time. Like, they've got a lot of really good young players. Cole Caulfield. I mean, they're really good. So it got me thinking. It's like, it wasn't that long ago they were in the Stanley Cup final. They went through a rebuild after that, and now they're back to being a legitimate threat to win a championship. Meanwhile, like, the Predators have not won a playoff series since 2018. I mean, we're approaching a decade since they won a playoff series. And everybody, we have the rebuild conversation around here at all times. And in some ways, I'm kind of hesitant to bring this up because I think the writing is on the wall that they're not going to do this, right? Like, we've talked about that. Like, they're not going to go through the rebuild here. But, like, I think one of the things I've never really understood about that conversation is, yes, if you go through a rebuild, do you run the risk of being a Buffalo or a San Jose or a Detroit where it just takes forever? Yes, you do run that risk. But you also, like, if you're a pretty competent organization, have a chance to make some good decisions. And, yeah, you need a little luck along the way.
Yep.
Where it can be pretty quick, right? Like, again, you're talking not that long ago. The Canadians were in the Stanley Cup final, went through an entire rebuild, and now they're back in the second round of the playoffs, took down Tampa Bay in 7 games. I think them and Buffalo is going to be a heck of a series, but if you force me to pick right now, I'd pick them to win the series. So you're talking if they do an Eastern Conference final at that point. Like, it is possible to go through a rebuild and do it well where it doesn't take very long.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's always the eternal debate. I mean, I know, like, on DVD, it's Vingan versus Donick, right? I mean, Vingan is Mr. Rebuild, Donick is Mr. not rebuild, and there are definitely cautionary tales. Although Buffalo being one of them. Finally, Buffalo! What a story, But meanwhile, the Red Wings continue to suck. But Stevie Y will come back next year.
You get it figured out.
Yeah, let's hope. But no, to me, it's like, and then you have stories like Boston. What Boston did, right? They had their core, and they just kind of change out, but they keep. But I just think it comes like whatever you do, like, you have to have that promising young core. That's what Montreal has, right? They have some of these guys who, the guys where they picked them are living up to that and then some.
Yes,
that's what it is, right? So to me, at this point where we are with the Preds, whatever they do around it, whether it's more of a step back and more opportunity for young guys, so you're not going to really be competitive, or you basically honor some of these veterans who do not want to just be part of that. Regardless, the key young guys in this organization, if they pan out, then okay, things can start looking better for the future. And if they don't, then at some point, then you might really you may have no choice.
Yeah.
Right? And you're just looking at a bottom out at some point when some of these guys really age out.
Yeah. I mean, I guess just what I'm saying is, and I heard Adam talking about this a few weeks ago, and I agree. Like, go look at teams that have won championships. At some point along the way, not all of them, but most of them have had to go through some level of rebuild, right? Like, yes. I mean, it's been a long time since Pittsburgh did it, but they did it, right? They ended up with Crosby and Malkin and Letang and Fleury and all these guys. So, yeah, there's some luck involved there. But, like, Tampa, they had to pick Victor Hedman where they picked him. They had to pick Steven Stamkos where they picked him. Like, there was some pain along the way. You look back at, again, Washington a long time ago, but you went through Ovechkin, right? Florida. You had Barkov. You had Ekblad. Like, it's most of these teams that have won championships, you point back to not that long ago before they won a championship. I mean, Colorado's another one. Nate McKinnon, you had to get him. Cale Makar, you had to get him, right? Like, that's part of it. And it doesn't have to be that way. But by and large, it's been that way over the last 20 years.
Yeah. And in almost every case there is a great player high in the draft that you got. So again,
a lot of times multiple.
Yeah, multiple. Brady Martin needs to be a great player. That's a whatever you do otherwise all around that. That's an absolute
it's non-negotiable,
fact, right?
Non-negotiable. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We talked about Cam Ward earlier in the show. There's another team in the AFC South that is facing a very interesting decision with their quarterback. We will get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Boxing fans, 102.5 The Game and Team Boxing League have your chance to win tickets to see the Nashville Smash take on Boston Butchers at Municipal Auditorium Saturday, May the 23rd. 16 rounds, 16 fighters each go at it for one round of nonstop action. Text the keyword FIGHT to the game text line at 615-737-1025 to enter for your chance to win. The Boston Butchers, objectively terrifying name.
The Boston Butchers.
Boston Butchers, Team Boxing League.
Wow.
Don't cross those
Aggressive.
guys.
Yeah, no, don't mess with that.
Do not mess with that. Joe, we talked earlier in the show about Cam Ward and solidifying himself as a franchise quarterback this year and the chances of that. There's another guy in the AFC South that we thought had done that his first year. That since then it's been a little bit up and down, and that's C.J. Stroud down there in Houston. And one of the big discussion points right now in Houston is, what do you do with C.J. Stroud? Do you pay him, and do you go ahead and just do that, or do you try to push it off a little bit further down the road and see what he's got this next season? And then if you do that, run the risk of the price tag continuing to just go up and up, which it does, as we know, in the NFL. So, look, C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson come in, and just immediately the Texans get turned around a couple of years ago. And we remember that story, how that happened. You know, Will Anderson just signed a 3-year, $150 million deal this offseason, which made him the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the league. So things going pretty well for Will Anderson right now. The Stroud thing is really interesting. Like, he was so good his first year. People were getting his Hall of Fame speech ready after the first year down there in Houston.
Yep.
And the next two, it just it's been up and down. Here's what one executive said. This is from an ESPN.com story. Says, the responses from executives on the poll that they've done range from they got to pay him to wait, and talked about how, years 2 and 3 haven't worked that well. And one executive said this, quote, I think he's plenty talented. I just think running a more efficient offense would justify the payday. I think everyone I talk to feels like you got to pay him. It's a low bar for the position. It could also save you money if you extend him now because the market always goes up. There are other people in this that say, you look at the way he's played, you don't want to get stuck, right? You don't want to get stuck with that deal. So, Joe, I ask you, has it been bad enough with CJ Stroud where if you're the Texans, you seriously consider not paying him? Like, how do you think they handle that this offseason?
I don't know how they'll handle it. I think I would side, though, with the GM who's like, get him now. Maybe you can get a little bit of a discount. You know where the market's going. It's just going to keep soaring, especially at that position. And I still think he's good enough that I would try to, like someone here, an NFC executive said, 3-year, like 42, 45 a year. You could also get into the whole franchising thing that like Washington did with Cousins. Also, you can with Dak. I mean, you could do that. But I kind of like the idea of look, he obviously has regressed in some ways or whatever. People have figured it out, whatever it is. Also, there's a lot to that too. And I think that they have had issues on offense beyond him. You expect a guy as great as we thought he was after year one to elevate that. You have ups and downs. It's still, again, it's like, think about these quarterbacks and how long it takes sometimes to figure out they're good. It's just hard for me to believe that he's just going to go nosedive, So I think I would try to do that and pay him like on a 3-year type of deal and see if he would go for it. And if not, then you just sit there and wait and you tag if you need to.
I think I kind of side with this AFC executive, which says, quote, it hasn't been perfect. That defense has carried a lot. $25 million isn't crazy for a 5th-year option. So you keep your leverage. You get another year of information on durability, production, mental toughness, all of it. I think that's probably what I would do if I was Houston. I would get another year, and if he ends up going crazy and balling out, that's a price as an organization I'm willing to pay. Like, if you're convinced after that he's your franchise quarterback, I'm willing to pay a little bit more for that than I otherwise would have, having more solid information and feeling more certainty on that if I'm the Texans at that point. And the flip side of that is if he goes out there this year with, by the way, as they mentioned, a really good defense that's kept them in a lot of these games over the last couple of years, and it's just more of the same, which is, I don't know, man. Then, I mean, we see it in today's NFL morning. Like, you can find quarterbacks in the offseason. There'll be some retread somewhere that ends up back in the thing. Like, I do wonder, with what Sam Darnold has done, with what Mayfield has done, Geno Smith to a lesser degree in Seattle, didn't go so well for him in Vegas. But what those guys have done, does it make teams, we mentioned earlier, more patient with the quarterbacks that they have? That's interesting. Does it also, if you're in a situation like Houston, make you more willing to move off of a guy, knowing that you just the last few years in the NFL, you have been able to find guys that have come from other organizations and other situations and have stepped in and have played pretty well? I wonder what that looks like.
Yeah, maybe. But there's still other organizations that continue to wander through the wilderness. You can still wander for a long time, and you really don't want to be the organization that watches this guy go trash heap and then go somewhere else. I don't think that strategy is terrible. But again, Stroud, so last year, 3,041 yards, 19-8 TD to, that's not enough touchdowns, obviously. Houston was 9-4 in the games he started and finished. Certainly a lot of that credit does go to the defense. I guess it's also like sometimes you talk about players in contract years and sometimes they play great. I think with quarterbacks it's a little different though, right? Like with quarterbacks, I almost feel like I'd rather have peace of mind for my quarterback, and that might inspire better performance than the pressure of let prove it to us this year, Whereas again, other positions where it's more about like staying in shape or the effort, things like that.
Yeah.
Like look what's like Simmons last year, like cut it all down. And he was a monster. He had a best career. With a quarterback, I think if you like right now, it's still, if you're Houston, you're like, this is going to be our guy in 10 years, probably.
Yeah.
We're a little concerned with how things are going. That's kind of where I trend toward the give him something, see if he likes that, and if there's some, okay, good. I feel some security. I feel some trust from the organization. I'll go, it's maybe good mentally for the QB. But yeah, I mean, either of those approaches is fine. It's obviously you just wish if you were the Texans that you just had certainty right now.
Well, I think if you're the Texans, you're looking at the picture right now and you're saying we have a championship level defense. Like our defense is, if it's not the best in the league, it is on the very short list of best defenses in the league. And you don't want to squander that. Like,
yeah,
I understand we always look at quarterback, and that's the direct correlation we make to winning and losing. And most of the time that's the case. But when you have a defense like they have, like, you're just not going to score a whole lot on those guys. Like, so all you really need your quarterback to do is to go out there and, number one, not screw it up, and number two, get to like 22 points, and you're feeling pretty good about your chances if you're the Texans with that defense that they have. And I feel like if you're in that organization, like, you kind of know that right now, right? Like, you've got one of the best corners in the league. You got a combination of Hunter and Anderson on the edges right now, which is as formidable of a combination as you're going to find in the NFL. Like, it feels like they're in their window right now to win.
Yeah.
And it's amazing having this conversation. Like, is Stroud the thing holding them back, given what he did a few years ago?
Yeah. Yeah, that's not great if that's what you – but then you get into, so yes, Seattle just won it all. So, I mean, that's the ultimate – Vikings let him go. Okay.
Yeah.
As the ultimate. But still, like, how often is that going to happen? Where you're going to get someone, now with them, I suppose you could say, yeah, but just give me like a middle of the NFL quarterback performance, and that could be enough. So I get it. You got to, I don't know. I mean, obviously they have sacrificed OCs. They have, they've blamed other people. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
You want to blame everybody but the quarterback. I mean, we see it here. Like, every time we talk about Cam Ward, people immediately start talking about everything else but him. I'd love to know what the day-to-day is with him.
Well,
and what the feeling is within the organization about why these things have gone the way they've gone.
Well, it is interesting that there's nothing that's happened yet, right? Like,
yeah.
They didn't mess around with Will Anderson. They got the deal done with Will Anderson.
And I love that deal, by the way. I like the short, it's just a 3-year, but it's just massive money and everybody's happy.
Right. And look, you got the 5th-year option with CJ Stroud. So it's not like there's a huge time crunch here. I mean, he's only played 3 years. So
it's just we would have expected by now.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be
this is a reflection of reality.
Yeah. And it's
got to play better than that.
It's gone. And the other thing is, it's gone down every year with him. Like, it started, his first year, you're talking 15 games, 64% completion percentage, 4,100 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 picks. I mean, he was awesome as a rookie. The next year it starts to go down a little bit. And who pays the price for that? Well, Bobby Slowick. He gets fired.
Yep.
This past year, and there were some injuries involved. He's 14 games, 3,041 yards, as you mentioned, 19 touchdowns, 8 picks, and he's horrible in the playoff game.
Yeah.
So it's trending down. That's the thing that I think scares you to death if you're a member of that Texans organization.
Yeah. And so what are the reasons, One, I mean, health, that could be an excuse, but also that's a concern if that's the thing, right? Like, are you gonna start getting into that more often? And then just the day-to-day of what he does. I mean, you set a really ridiculously high bar for yourself in that first year, but still, that's the thing. I think the biggest thing of all of it is how he played in that playoff game. Like, that's alarming that at the biggest moments you're that inept as an offense overall. But again, he's the QB.
Yep, 615-737-1025, our phone number. Cory Curtis from News 2 is coming up at 8 o'clock. Alex Daughtery will be with us at 8:30. We got the Rob Rant coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. It is that time of the day here on the program. Into the Rob Rant, brought to you by Rapid Response Generators. Power when it matters the most. Joe, would you say that's the highlight of your career?
You forget how great just that little clip is on its own. The no worries.
It's the greatest clip we have.
No worries.
Yeah.
I love the no worries.
Don't worry about it.
The fact that he went with Rexrode. So, like, on the what was it spelled incorrectly? Like, was it
No.
spelled with an O?
I mean, I don't think so.
So there was an E there in front of him, and he said Rexrode.
Maybe he just couldn't read it. I don't know.
I mean, like, it's amazing, actually.
I think it's.
Hi, I'm Scott Stapp. I think E's are O's.
I'm going to go with the long-standing theory that I've always had, which is he listens to our show and knows that you don't like him, so he was like, "Screw you, Rexrode. Here's your name." That's what I'm going
full
with.
troll.
Yeah.
I'm going to call him Sket Stapp.
Yeah, that's what I choose to believe. That's the way that all went down. All right, so
Amazing
today,
stuff.
pretty simple. Do we have to consider every somewhat prominent quarterback that retires now in the NFL, or at least just thinking about retirement? Do they have to go on TV? Like, is that where we're headed in the NFL? Like, look, we've had the Tom Brady discussion. I understand people have differing thoughts on how good or not good he is. From a business standpoint, from Fox, like, I get it. It's Tom Brady, and I don't know what he's doing behind the scenes, but I'm sure he's, schmoozing people and coming to these events, and they obviously felt strong enough about it where they thought paying him $300 million was worth it. So whatever. I mean, good for Brady, I guess. Yeah, but like we've seen Drew Brees go on TV and wasn't very good. We've seen Matt Ryan go on the CBS set, and he was okay. Like, at least fine. But he wasn't – I didn't walk away from the broadcast thinking, oh, God, thank God Matt Ryan's on TV.
He was better than Drew Brees.
He's better than Drew Brees. So, like, we've seen this happen. Like, Romo, I think, started all this, and he was, I thought, really good early. And quite frankly, I don't think he's very good now. It's just me. But apparently Russell Wilson's the next one. So Russell Wilson, according to friend of the show, Andrew Marchand, is in deep discussions to go into TV, and it looks like the NFL Today on CBS is the favorite. With Matt Ryan, obviously he left that TV program. He's now with Atlanta running their football team. So there's an opening there. Maybe this is just who it is. I just don't think Russell Wilson's going to be good on TV at all. Like, he's too much of a dweeb. If he's anything like he is on TikTok, I don't want to watch him on TV, right? Like,
what is he like on TikTok?
He's just
I don't know.
He's just too. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, you watch him and you're like, yeah, I can see why there's a lot of his teammates that just don't like him. And again, I'm sure he's a fine guy, right? Like, I don't think he's some jerk or anything. Although I will say, like, hey, I better have my own office thing.
Hey, Cory, this is Robby Rexerode. How are you? Do it. Hey, can you hear me? Hey, how you doing, Cory? Good, love to hear that. All right, we're going to be back on in about 90 seconds or so. So I'm just going to switch on the internet and I'll connect you with you guys. Sound good? All right, appreciate you, Cory. I got the audio issue with the screen fixed. I apologize about that. Yeah, sometimes Restream gets funny and switches the audio off randomly for no reason. So I have no idea. My apologies. Oh, yeah. Cory, he is online and ready to talk to you. So. Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
Manage it, they maintain it. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Rodney Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Brandon Bixby here with you on this Monday morning. It's Monday morning at 8 o'clock. That means it can only mean one thing. Cory Curtis from News 2 with us now on the program on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Cory, good morning. How are you? How are you today? We're doing awesome. We're out here at a golf course today, so my life could not be better. Anytime we're at a golf course, that's a good spot. We threw this question out there earlier, Cory, and I'm interested to get your thought on it. You know, we've talked so much this offseason about what the Titans have done in the draft and free agency. It's been a busy offseason. I still think the most important question with this entire franchise is, individually, what does Cam Ward do from year 1 to year 2, right? Like, it's ultimately going to come down to that, right? When it comes to the quarterback. So, if I asked you, like, what's your confidence level in Cam Ward that he begins to solidify himself as a franchise quarterback this season in year 2? What would your answer to that be?
I didn't look at the grade that we have left after Mike McCoy took over, and just, you know, how much the scoring moved up, how much the touchdown passes moved up, and just, you know, how the sacks came way down. I mean, it was a lot different looking the back half of the season when there were adults running the thing. And then, you know, the other thing I always go back to is that last game of the season against Jacksonville. That drive to open the game was their most impressive drive of the season against what was a playoff team and a quality defense. And then you saw the drop-off when Brandon Allen came into the game. You know, that's how important Cam Ward was to the Titans in that game, that you just had a catastrophic drop-off at that position. So I feel like he did grow, especially the second half of the season. And I think the growth of the coaching staff, the growth of the roster, the growth of Cam Ward should all show itself this year. How much? We'll see. But I do have a high level of confidence they'll be better.
So if he went, say, low 60s completion percentage, about 3,500 yards passing, 26 TDs, 9 picks, would you then say he has arrived and you know he's going to be a franchise quarterback?
Well, those numbers would all say that to me, but, after Marcus Mariota's second year, which was really, really good, I thought he was.
I can't get anything by you.
Those were Marcus's numbers his second year.
Yeah.
Joe's trying to pull a fast one on you.
No. I mean, Marcus was electric his second year. He was fantastic, and you thought he was on his way, but he couldn't stay healthy. And so, that'll be part of it for Cam. So if Cam has that same type of year Marcus had, I'd be really happy.
What about sticking with quarterbacks in the AFC South? If you're Houston, are you paying C.J. Stroud? Given that, he's gone through 3 years, he's on a fifth-year option. They've already given a huge contract to Will Anderson this offseason, which they should. I mean, no hesitation there. But, Stroud's a really interesting thing. The numbers would tell you that he's trending down. They got a defense right now in the NFL that's on the very short list of best defenses in the league. And the conversation in Houston is, is the quarterback the one holding them back? How do you think they handle the C.J. Stroud situation? How would you handle it?
Well, there was no question that last year he was holding them back, and I think their whole offseason has to be dedicated on how they get him turned back around, because you're right, the rest of the roster is good enough to compete. And when you look at the Patriots team that went to the Super Bowl and you look at the talent level on Houston compared to it, there was only one position holding them back, and that was the quarterback spot. And, they picked up his fifth-year option, but I think if they were sold on him, they probably already have an extension done with him.
Yeah.
I think he's got to produce this year, or they've got a decision to make.
So Cory, we were talking earlier. Mike Sando always at the Athletic always does the GM. GMs talk about the classes and things like that, right? On all 32 teams, and it seems to be a prevailing sentiment on Carnell Tate is safe pick. Is that?
Yeah.
Is that? Do you like that assessment? Do you agree with that assessment? Does that is a safe pick, low, high floor, going to be a solid to good player? How does that make you feel? How do you think that makes Titans fans feel?
Well, I would just say that if that's the pick they made and that's the way they viewed it, that was what they viewed as their best option. Were there other players they could have picked there, for sure. But they're probably also looking at, we need to do something for Cam Ward. Because we can count on, one finger the wide receiver one that this team has had since Derek Mason retired. All right. So, they desperately need that. That doesn't mean you swing and say, well, we hope this guy. I think the feeling is that when you say safe pick, he is the most pro-ready guy. You feel like he is a 1,000-yard guy without any question, which in 17 games is only 60 yards a game, and that he will produce for you. I think there had to be a high level of confidence that he would be a consistent performer for them to make that pick, not just, well, we got to have somebody.
So, Cory, the Predators are still searching for a general manager. They had the announcement, I believe it was February the 2nd, that Barry Trotz was stepping down as GM. You have seen other teams in the NHL hire and fire general managers, and the Predators still do not have one. So, on the one hand, I said this earlier in the show, they're going to end up with a general manager. I think they've zeroed in on, their top pool of candidates. I don't think they're missing out on anybody right now. But it is, Predators fans are growing frustrated with, why is this taking so long? So what's your take on, why this is taking so long with the Nashville Predators?
I have no idea, because, the only reason for me is you haven't found your guy. Because if you find your guy, you hire him, right? Because you don't want to lose him to somebody else. If somebody comes in and blows your doors off and say that's our guy. And so, I'm surprised too, because it shouldn't take this long. It shouldn't, but it has. And, at one of the, have you heard of Scott White?
Oh yeah.
So when I was a little baby sportscaster in Columbia, South Carolina, Scott White was the first head coach of the Columbia Inferno of the ECHL.
It's not Scott White I thought you were talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But continue with the story.
Good, continue. Sorry.
Well, so he's like head of player development for Dallas in their minor league system, and I guess he's getting a look. And
Okay,
I was stunned to see his.
We're
name
back on
come
the
up,
same page.
I was like, man, I haven't seen that guy in 20 years.
Would you have an issue if Tom Fitzgerald was the choice, Corey?
Look, if they think he's the best candidate, then hire away. I do not care.
Because obviously the history of his history of the organization is troubling for some people. Although I don't see why the fact that he wasn't here with this front office to me makes that a non-issue. But obviously it's not that way for everybody.
Well, everybody is their own person. All right. So regardless of who you work with, who you work for, you're still your own person. You still have your own ideas, and those come out after you're gone. So who knows what he is compared to what he was then.
Yeah, that's a good point. Last thing for you here, Corey, as we look ahead to continued off-season stuff here, what are your thoughts on Robert Saleh basically looking at the rookie mini camps and saying, these draft picks really don't need to be out here for anything meaningful, that we don't want to get them hurt?
Well, we've seen a lot of rookies pull hamstrings.
We have.
That's for sure. So, and this is the point I made last night on Sports Extra. The Titans have had normal rookie mini camps the last 3 years in a row and won 12 games total. So if you want to try something different, go right ahead. Because what I've watched the last 3 years has sucked. So go right ahead, try something different.
How bad is the viewing for the media? Is Kaharski gonna totally stroke out this year?
I think he already has. Look, working in television, I get to see the training camp video from a lot of the other cities because we are always asking for practice video.
Yeah,
and it is not surprising how bad ours is getting. Because when I see what the Kansas City Chiefs send us, not the Chiefs, but the people who cover the Chiefs, I'm like, my God, we should be so grateful for what we have. And so I just knew it was a matter of time. Now, do I buy the players' safety excuse? No, I do not. I think that's garbage because their cameras will still be all over it. This is my opinion. I can't prove it. It's all to drive people to the team website where the better video will be.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's a very sound take.
Yeah, I think it is as well. Corey,
No
thank
one
you
has
as
told
always.
me that. That's just me having a brain.
Okay, there we go. Corey, great stuff as always, brother. Appreciate you taking
But it
time to be
functions.
with us this morning, and
Unlike Karski's.
we will talk to you next week.
All right. Hey, my big epiphany on golf is it would be a much better game with bigger holes and smaller balls. So
Yeah.
go get them.
All right, we'll see if we can work on that. We'll see if we can work
right.
on that.
Like
Cory
marbles?
Curtis from News 2, our guest here on the program. Yeah, if you could get a pinball out there with a basketball.
Throw a
hoop.
marble into a well? I'll play that game.
Exactly. We'll react to what Corey had to say coming up next. Alex Daughtery will be with us at 8:30. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game, presented by Green Ventures Landscaping. For homes and businesses that want to stand out, not blend in, visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Appreciate Cory Curtis from News 2 for being with us in the last segment. Alex Daughtery from the Tennessean will be with us at 8:30. We will get into the Nashville Predators with him. The rookie minicamp stuff. We talked about that to begin the show. I don't really care that much about whether or not the draft picks get on the field in rookie minicamp. The main thing I care about is like mentally getting yourself ready to go. Get the playbook down and get yourself in a spot where by the time training camp comes around, you're in a good spot and know where to be. Now, the point that they made over the weekend, and I heard Brian Dable talk about this, Robert Saleh talked about this, is it's a new system, so it's the veterans are having to learn new things too. I still think there's a difference, Joe, between being in the NFL, a veteran player who's been around, who's seen different systems, who knows what NFL daily life is like. I think there's a difference between that and being a rookie coming in and basically drinking through a fire hose for a couple of weeks trying to process all this information. So I know that they're all technically learning a new system. I still think there's a difference between veterans and rookies when it comes to implementing and getting those systems down at that point.
Yeah, absolutely there is. But, I mean, this stuff is, the CBAs have more and more have cut down on, certainly on the full pad stuff, right? But this was never going to be any of that anyway. I mean, everything in the spring is obviously non-contact and things like that. You can take mental reps in a lot of ways. I don't know. The rookie, the way they're handling that stuff to me is totally fine. It's just a little bit less stuff for fans to grab onto and things like that. There have been times in the spring in the past where, I remember not a rookie, but like, for example, Julio Jones, after they traded for him, I guess that would have been mini camp, right? It must have been mandatory mini camp.
I believe it was.
That's the only thing that he would have done anyway. But, made a few plays out there like, oh, my God, they are about to absolutely take over the
Brown,
NFL.
Julio Jones, Derrick Henry combo.
It's like,
Special.
This is going to be the greatest offense in the history of the NFL. Still a team that was the 1 seed, by the way.
They were.
Not really because of that, but,
their hit rate with being the 1 seed with Julio Jones on their roster, pretty high.
That's true, man. Like 1 for 2, I guess, right?
Was 1 for 1? Was he there for another year?
Was he not there at all in 22? Am I wrong about that?
I don't think he was.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Okay. All right. 100%. I was like, 50%, pretty good. No, about 100%. But, it's like this time of year, any little crumbs, people will it was
right? 1 year.
Okay, it was 1 year.
He's in Tampa the next year.
Okay, yeah.
Getting the ball thrown to him from the Pharaoh down there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Vrabel didn't seem to be a big Julio fan. Like Vrabel / Leo DiCaprio. I guess there's just going to be less stuff in the spring, for people to get excited about. Although, the Titans, again, they'll have their cameras close on everything, and other media will not.
Yep. Going back to our Russell Wilson conversation, one texter said that Brady and Rodgers would be a good duo together. Romo's garbage, and on TV has the most annoying voice. I do agree with the voice thing from time to time. Like every now and then the what's going to happen here, Jim? Gets a little old. I'm like, all right, calm it down. Just calm it down.
Yeah, Brady and Rodgers, I said, what would they be good for? Torturing, like enemies of the state or something? Like what would Brady and Rodgers together?
You don't want that.
No.
Somebody has to call the game.
Yeah.
You go three-man booth.
Well, yeah, there are the three-man booth, and Monday Night Football popularized it, right,
sure.
with Howard Cosell and Gifford and Meredith. But, man, actually, I would kind of be interested to hear like Brady and Rodgers trying to talk over each other in a booth with, like, Ian Eagle trying to, call the game or something.
You want to know a hot take? I think if you ever could get Aaron Rodgers to actually focus on doing the job, he'd be pretty good at it. The problem is he wouldn't focus on doing the job. He would be focused on everything else.
What if he showed up shrooming, just like tripping his mind off? You know? What is he doing? So are these fake pictures, or is he actually wearing like
I can't remember,
like apparel of various teams? He wore like Jets, and then he wore Cardinals.
I don't know.
Then there was a picture of him with Cardinals, and I'm always like, okay, so either he's trolling people, which is kind of funny, or it's just like fake pictures of the internet.
Fake,
You can't even, yeah.
I mean, the Jets thing would be objectively hilarious if he's just walking around in a Jets hoodie. He's like, yeah, I used to have Jets
got free gear.
I got free gear left over.
Free gear. Yeah, why not go work out in your old Jets gear?
Yeah.
No big deal.
Is he ever going to decide whether or not he's going to play football again? That'd be a good start.
That would be. So this guy says, I'd rather hear a game called by ball knowers than by Romo's bum ass. Hell, even Gronk would be better. Are you serious? Dude, you think that Gronk would be better than Romo? I get the people are mad at Romo, and he's annoying sometimes. He is a ball knower. I mean, Romo is a very good describer of what's happening formationally.
Yeah.
He does predict plays right a lot. He he makes some mistakes, and he's annoying.
Yeah.
You cannot seriously tell me that Gronk ball good. Me like food. I mean, you can't be serious. Gronk. Have you seen that dude in the studio? It's almost worth watching. It's so bad. Come on, man.
Hey,
Gronk.
I wouldn't mind for one game seeing Gronk do some color commentary. I think it'd be pretty funny.
I mean,
I have no idea what formation that was, but it worked out. There is
hard.
It does make me think of the old they used to pick Brady up at the line of scrimmage, like on the boom mic. And there's one where he's just like, Gronk, stand up. And Gronk just stands right up. It's like, so Brady just told him what to do the whole time. Okay, cool. This is what you do on this play. You run straight.
That's left, Gronk. Gronk, that's left.
Yeah, exactly. The other point that I was curious to get Cory's thoughts on here, he said pretty confident on the Cam Ward discussion we had earlier about turning into a franchise quarterback in year 2. And, he laid out the reasons for it. As you pointed out earlier in the show, like regardless of how good he is, you're always playing a dangerous game when you say that at the end of the year. But Cory seems pretty confident that we're going to see some good stuff from Cam Ward this year in year 2.
Cory at least made me feel better about he was obviously a way bigger Mariota homer than I was back 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he was really good. Cory was like, I thought he was amazing. So, but it's a good – he also knew exactly when I was saying those numbers that I was talking about Mariota's second year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Cory's I don't know, high confidence. The whole thing with Cam, it's like obviously this happens a lot with any kind of pick that's somewhat polarizing. The people who were like all for it are going to they're going to hold on as long as they can. That think they're going to look at things in a more positive light, more glass half full. Whereas people who are against it are probably going to be quicker to criticize. I just don't know how anybody could be highly confident after that year. Again, it wasn't a year without hope at all, and there are plenty of excuses to be made, but high confidence is surprising to me.
615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Alex Daughtery from the Tennessean will be with us coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Talking Predators, and to help us do that, we head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in our buddy Alex Daughtery to the program from the Tennessean. Alex, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning, y'all. How are you?
Doing awesome, man. Appreciate
Super.
you taking time to be with us this morning. So let's just start here. What's your read on the general manager process for the Nashville Predators? They announced Barry Trotz stepping down as general manager, I believe, on February the 2nd. It is May the 4th. They have still not hired a general manager. So what's your read on kind of how this is going and why it's taking as long as it is when you have other teams and organizations firing and hiring general managers relatively quickly around the league?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One is I think I'm not really surprised that that's taking this long. I would say when they originally came out and described how this was going to work, they gave end of May, June as the timeline, which, at the time was 4 months away. So it seemed crazy, but I think they just knew that they were going to have to spend a lot of time going over a lot of different possible candidates, and they didn't exactly know what direction they were going to go. I mean, if you look at the list of candidates that's come out, I mean, there's guys who are former general managers like Mark Bergevin and Brendan Shanahan. There's current assistant general managers like Brett Peterson and Bill Scott and Scott White. And then there's, pick your choice of agent or, country music executive or, healthcare executive. Who knows? That's also
Tennessean writer.
Yeah, exactly. The Tennessean beat writer for the team. Yeah, exactly. That could be applying for this job. I mean, there's probably a wide range. Compare that with the teams that have already hired theirs. Like, it'd be one thing if these other teams were snagging up guys that were on the Predators list. Like if the Devils came in and hired Brett Peterson right away, who is I think one of the top candidates, that would be an alarming sign, right? That would be like, okay, well, what they're spinning their wheels and the guys are getting snagged up. But the guys that are being hired, John Shaka with the Maple Leafs, and then the guy with the Devils whose name escapes me now. Sonny Meta, that's his name.
Yep.
Just not guys that were on the list, right? These are not guys that were even mentioned with the Predators. So they had their guy. The Predators have a long list and have a lot of work to do to figure out how to get out of this mess. So I'm not panicking at all. I think it makes sense to take this while. Now, I will say, if it gets to late May, if we get to the Stanley Cup final and there's not one named, then I'd be a little worried. But I always kind of thought this would take like mid-May, towards the end of May, by the time we got a name.
Interesting. I didn't realize that was actually laid out that way. I mean, I knew that they talked about like taking their time, but so when they get someone in, I guess if it is like late May, Alex, is that not somewhat of a scramble, as you look toward the draft, or is that? I guess you just think that's still plenty of time to get your ducks in order, and I guess you have a lot of people. Obviously, Trotz is still in place doing stuff to get it ready.
I think that's your answer. Because Trotz is still there. He's probably doing more, just as much work as he did last year around this time. Your scouts are still there. Now, the big question is, if they hire someone outside and someone like Jeff Keelty is gone, who is your director of scouting, that's going to make for an awkward draft. Will Keelty even be there? I don't anticipate any of the scouts being replaced, until after the draft, if they are at all. So I think the draft is not as big of a deal. I do think that they want to get someone there to prepare for, obviously free agency, which happens like a few days after that. So I think it's more about that. And also I think the draft, there's so much movement late, guys, if you remember last year, and this happens every year, there's not always a consensus number one. Last year, obviously Matthew Schaefer, but assuming that they don't beat the odds and they're going to be picking around 10, 11, 12, there's so many different kinds of players that can be available there. I mean, like, guys are going to drop down, guys are going to rise up, and I think that I'm not too worried about the draft. It's more about free agency, and then it's also about the short-term game plan. The number one question that has to be asked by Haslam and everyone else doing this interview is, how are you going to get the team out of this current mess? I mean, the situation with the cap and the age of the players and everything that's in front of them is not just, this draft away or this free agency away. How are you going to get out of this over the next 2 to 3 years? And, I think hearing answers to those questions takes a lot of time and understanding, all the different strategies. How would teams deal with, the current cap situation or the current roster situation with the Predators? So that there's a lot of questions going on. And it's probably awkward having Barry Trotz in those interviews saying, "Hey, how would you fix all the things I did over the last 3 years? Or how would you resolve this?"
Well, that's kind of where I was going to go with this. Like, when the Predators laid out this original plan of hiring a general manager, well, the plan that they laid out involved a search firm that pretty quickly was deemed not to be legal. So, obviously that plan had to change relatively quickly into the process. But I've heard this question from Predators fans, and I think it's a fair one. Like, does Barry Trotz really need to be involved in this? Like, obviously he is, but like the tenure as general manager didn't go very well with Barry Trotz.
Yeah.
Like, do you really want him involved in selecting your next general manager?
Yeah, and the more you hear about Tom Fitzgerald being involved, like, I mean, I can't confirm this or anything, but doesn't that just sound like that's probably a Barry Trotz influence? Like,
It does.
I can't imagine Nick Saban knows who Tom Fitzgerald is, or even Bill Haslam. I feel like it's got to be some influence of Barry Trotz saying, "Hey, I know this guy; he's really good, and let's get him in here." And we can talk about my opinion on this Fitzgerald thing. We can talk about that in a minute, but I think the Trotz involvement is like it's probably still more of the saving face. That's not the right way to put it. It's protecting the legacy of Barry Trotz, right? Like, let's allow him to be a part of this. Let's not, we know that the ending, we know things have not gone well. We know that we want to soften this landing. And so let's have him be involved in this. But I don't think that he's going to have the final say, right? I mean, like, that's going to be Haslam. It's going to be the overall group. It's going to be the team. It's always been strange, but as soon as you start hearing that Tom Fitzgerald is involved, it's like, okay, Barry Trotz is definitely the one setting this up. It's got to be.
So you don't think so? Without that, you don't think that he would be a legitimate candidate otherwise?
Talking Fitzgerald.
Yeah, talking about Fitzgerald.
Yeah, a legitimate candidate, maybe just because he's available and he's a current GM that was just made available, maybe. But I mean, so like people talk about the connection with the team. And we, you guys have talked about how it's not really that much of a connection because, he played so long ago and his GM, his front office experience has nothing to do with the Predators. But let me just I kind of looked around at some of his experience here. So like the things that he did with New Jersey, I mean, tell me who this sounds like. It's he takes over in the middle of COVID. His first move is to sell off Kyle Palmieri, Travis Zajac to the Islanders. Retained salary on both, so
Yep.
he had to retain salary. They saw some improvement. He can make some small deals, and then in 22-23, when Jack Hughes breaks out and they have a playoff team, they makes a big splash at the deadline. Gets Timo Meier, signs him to a big contract, which has not panned out because Timo Meier has plummeted in terms of his production.
Yep.
And then trades for these goaltenders like Vitek Vanacek and Jake Allen and Jacob Markstrom, trying to find a solution. Damon Severson trades him away. He takes a lot of small risk on guys who really don't have a lot of upside. I see a lot of Barry Trotz in these kind of moves. Not a lot of creativity, chasing trends, being more reactive than proactive. His resume with New Jersey, just to me alone, is not enough to give him the job. I don't see a resume that proves to me that he can come in and resolve what the Predators have. So I don't like it as just from a perspective of I don't think he's the man for the job on paper.
Well, Alex has talked me out of Tom Fitzgerald.
Let me say this on the front end: the odds of the Predators winning the NHL draft lottery tomorrow are not high. They're at 3.5%. We saw the Islanders win it last year with the same odds at 3.5%. So when you double that, Alex, I mean the odds of teams back-to-back years of winning the NHL draft lottery at 3.5% are not very high. So I don't at all expect this to happen. But let's just say that the Predators, for the first time in the history of their franchise, get really lucky in the NHL draft lottery and they do win. How much does that change the equation for you if it's Gavin McKenna coming in next year?
In terms of the near-term strategy, it is bumped up, and it's a huge increase, like a tenfold increase, I would say. Now, I don't know that the guy's going to come in and be like a rookie of the year, but it totally changes the math in terms of what your core looks like. And then you've got a core of like 2 top 5 picks that are legitimate top 6 players, and you don't have to worry too much about like, oh well, Steven Stamkos and Ryan O'Reilly are not going to be here in 5 years, because those guys will be, and you've got a plan. Having said that, like even if they get number 2, they could probably get a player that is still really good. I mean, Ivar Stenberg is a really good Swedish player, and there's a lot of defensemen at the top of this draft that could be really good. They could definitely draft a defenseman. They need that. So, I mean, 3.5%. That's not a very good odds. You'd probably have better odds of getting good practice video at the Titans than you would at getting the top overall pick. Which by the way, I was at on Friday. I helped out our guy Nick Suss to go out there. That was an interesting experience, being able to film through the construction and all that. So it's so odd to me, because like as you know, Robbie, like at Predators practice you can do pretty much everything except for go on the ice.
Yeah.
And then at Titans practice, it's like you can film this one guy doing this one drill over here for 30 seconds, and then everything else you can't do.
It's truly remarkable. Is it true also that you're not allowed to kneel now? You can't kneel? Is that true?
I didn't see this. I heard about this.
You're not allowed to crouch at all? What if you just short?
Stand up.
What if Diego Pavia came out there to watch practice? Would he be kicked out?
I may have done some illegal kneeling. I don't even remember. I may have accidentally leaned on a wall for a second. I think I did, actually. I'm probably going to be banned.
How salty was Kaharski? He must have been a real treat out there, huh? I steered clear. Yeah, it's best not to interact with him. Yeah, it's like feeding the lions. Just don't interact. Don't look him straight in the eye. Yeah, it's better way to go.
I could tell it was not the time to chit chat. It was there was a lot of emotion going on about the filming stuff. So
just out there swearing into the ether.
I can't wait to get him in on a Wednesday. Alex, thank you, sir. Promise me this: if they win the draft lottery this week, you'll join us again on the show this week.
Absolutely, I will be there. I'll be here to talk about it, because that would actually be a lot of fun, and I would love to cover that. But let's just expect them to drop down to number 12, which is probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, that has been the trend. Alex Daughtery from the Tennessee and our guest. Alex, appreciate you, buddy.
All right, see y'all later.
Yep, we'll react to what Alex had to say here on the program. Wrap up the show coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Final segment of the day, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Trevor on the text line says, I've never looked forward to a Wednesday show more. I can't wait for PK's crash out. It could be special on Wednesday. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe he'll have calmed down by then. Well, I don't know the schedule though. Like if he has to go back out there again, it'll bring up all those hard feelings all over again. You know?
I'm sure you'll get him going. It doesn't take much.
That's true.
I
owe him after what you guys did to me last week.
It's true. It is true.
Dude, did you see
you guys? I didn't do anything. I just kind of stood there, which is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. You're not as innocent as you claim to be. But how about that? I love the gone fishing thing on the inside of the NBA. The one, the Celtics. Oh my God! Did you see that? John Krasinski. I mean, the John Krasinski was at the office. I forgot he was a Boston fan. That was hilarious.
Is there anything else in that?
I don't remember anything else about
it. Matthew in Nashville said if there was ever a time we needed a time machine, filming the Titans practice would have been one of those times. We could all cry with laughter watching Kuharski just cussing people out in his New York accent.
Remember when I took that picture of him from Titans headquarters and he was like just sitting by himself on the curb?
Yeah.
Like crying.
Oh, yeah. Remember that one.
God, that was beautiful.
Let's head to our phone line. Welcome in Nate to the program. Nate, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Morning, guys. My thing is that I was not a huge fan of Trotz being a part of the search, but I did come around a little bit with someone saying that if he was not a part of the search, there really wouldn't be a hockey mind involved in the GM search, which, I mean, yeah, it is very important to have a hockey mind involved with the GM search. But is that more of a kind of excuse to have him involved, or how much validity do y'all put in that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. Like, look, Barry Trotz is a very good hockey mind. He's a Hall of Fame coach. Okay. So there are people that take this conversation way too far the other way. Like, I understand if you're a Predators fan not wanting to have the former GM involved in picking the next one. I get that. I really do. I think there are people that take it like that think that Barry Trotz can't tie his, shoelaces out there when it comes to a hockey conversation, and that's not the case. So I have no problem with him being part of it. What I would have a problem with if I'm a Predators fan is him basically leading it, right? Like if it's him, and I know Bill Haslam is going to end up being the one who's the decision maker because he's the owner. Like ultimately everything comes back to him.
Right.
But like
how much is he leaning on Trotz?
But how much is he leaning on Barry Trotz? Like if Barry Trotz is like essentially picking the next GM, I'd have a problem with that if I'm a Predators fan.
Yeah, and look, those are very fair concerns that Alex brought up when it comes to Fitzgerald, in terms of is there too much philosophical? There is the Shero connection and all that stuff. Do you want to maybe go outside of that? The one thing about the draft to remember, it's always weird in the NFL too, but remember, like, essentially part of the understanding, and I think it's the same way in any sport, is like, if you were changing front offices, like basically the old one still is going to stay through a draft,
yes,
largely.
Particularly the scouting part. Like they're not going to hire new general manager and him hire a bunch of AGMs and them come in and be like, all right, guys, we got 6 days to put a draft strategy together.
Let's blow up all the last year of work that we've done. You're going to go through it, and then those people, and that's why you see changes. Well, it's like even with the Titans, like, Brinker, although he had nothing to do with the draft, still waited until after the draft, and then you move on, and that's when you make your changes. So, but it's interesting. It's interesting too with Alex talking about like the kind of the soft landing for Trotz, right? I mean, obviously, you want it to go as amicably as possible, and it is. But it's like, how much of an asset is he? I still would want his input if he's around.
Sure.
Like you said, he's been in hockey forever. I mean, the guy knows hockey. He has made some mistakes as GM here, but like he could still be useful and helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think the Predators, a lot of the Predators fan base is like, let's make this completely new. Let's distance ourselves for basically what's been the DNA of the organization. And I get it. I mean, they've been past the second round of the playoffs one time in the history of their organization. I mean, the one thing I will say is it does sound like they're going. I think a lot of people's fear when this general manager thing started was, well, they'll just promote like Jeff Kelty or they'll hire Brian Boyle or whatever, and they ain't doing that. Like
Right.
It's pretty clear that they're not doing that. Now we can have the debate on Fitzgerald as to whether or not that's in the family. Like there are some Predators fans that are absolutely going to believe that that's still in the family. I think you could make some reasonable arguments that it's not, but either way, I know that that's going to be a polarizing hire. Frankly, for me, I'm not really excited about the Fitzgerald thing given his track record in New Jersey. And it really is as simple as that for me. Like the New Jersey experience did not go great. I wouldn't call it a disaster. It was okay, but it didn't go great. So hopefully we'll know here in the next few days.
I mean, Alex told us we can, hopefully by Independence Day.
Yeah, we got a text
have an
earlier.
idea,
It was like, it doesn't have to be this year. I was like, well, yeah, it doesn't have to be. I don't know why you're announcing Trotz stepping down in February if it's not going to be this year. So we'll see what happens on that front. Joe, good show today.
Yeah, it was fun out here.
It was fun.
I almost feel like going out to golf. Not quite, but it's a nice golf course to look at.
Almost talked you into it. Well, that's going to do it for us today. We're out here at Hermitage Golf. Appreciate Stars Nashville for having us out here as well. Going to be out here all morning long here on the program. And we'll be back with you guys tomorrow at 6 a.m. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman is coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.